There's a new type of scam that unfortunately is becoming more and more common, and we all need to know about it because A, most of us are unaware, and B, many of us, if we fall victim to the scam, are going to lose hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you what the scam is, what the bank's response has been to this scam, and 3, what we can all do to protect ourselves. So first off, what is the scam? Believe it or not, it starts with a bottle of glue, just a regular bottle of glue, and the bad guys are putting glue into the card slots of ATM bank machines where you and I would normally put our cards into that slot. And because there's glue in there, we can't get our card into that slot. And so many of us will be tempted or actually prompted by the bad guys that say, hey, no worries, I had the same thing happen to me. I just used the tap feature that many of our ATM cards are having. So the slot for our cards is broken. So we use the tap function, the contactless function, just like maybe we would in a grocery store. We use that, but unfortunately, there's some subtle but important differences in how we need to use the ATM machine when we're using the contactless payment method or use method. So when we do that, you tap your card, you enter your PIN, you get out your cash, and then normally you would take your card out, and that would close out your session. But because this is contactless, there's no card to take out, so we need to be extra cautious to make sure that we close out that session. There should be a sign that says something along the lines of, would you like to do another transaction? You want to stay there till you see that and say no, until you see that main screen pop up again. And you want to talk to your bank about how to protect yourself. But high level, that's the scam. Now, here's the scary thing. Many banks are saying, well, you authorize that withdrawal. You put in your PIN, and if you left before you closed out that session, that's on you. It's not on the bank. Now, as the media has picked up on the story, some of the banks have reluctantly said, okay, we will reimburse you that money. But unless you're fortunate enough for your story to get picked up by a news media, you may be on your own. I don't want to see that happen to you. So just like when we're at a coffee shop and maybe we go for a refill of coffee or we go to use the restroom, if we have our laptop out, we would lock our laptop and close the lid at a minimum so nobody could open the lid and get on our computers. We wouldn't leave our phone on the table if a friend wasn't there to watch it for us. We certainly wouldn't leave it there if the phone wasn't locked. It's the same thing with these ATM machines. Think of it almost like your cell phone, where when it's open, it has access to a lot of information and a lot of valuable stuff, our accounts. And if we leave without closing out that session, we can be in a world of hurt, and we may be on our own. Okay, so what do we do to protect ourselves? First off, if the slot where you put your card in doesn't work, right, that's not the right ATM machine for us to use. If that's broke, who knows what else is broke. Now, I mentioned at the open that sometimes a stranger will prompt you and say, oh, I had the same thing happen to me. I just used my card, the tap to use feature on my card. Well, that stranger is part of the scam. So if there's other people around when you're using the ATM machine, if other people are giving you advice, this is a precarious time. I don't care how friendly and how nice you are. When you're near an ATM machine, we have to keep our senses heightened and be extra vigilant. And if we didn't ask people for advice, we certainly shouldn't take advice. And we need to make sure that we close out the session. Again, just like you lock your laptop when you don't want people getting into it, we lock our phones when we don't want people getting into it. The way we lock our ATM machine, we close out our session. And then it's important that we're just aware of our surroundings and we're aware of what the situation is. So I think I've shared on this channel that I've been fortunate enough to do some traveling around the world, and in many parts of the world the ATM machines are clustered, and there's a group of people nearby, but hopefully there's some privacy shields up so you can keep your privacy. And when you're entering your PIN number, boy, it's so easy now that we all have cameras on our phones. it's so easy for somebody to just snap a quick video of you putting in your PIN number. And even if the bank machine asks for, before it asks about another transaction, so you take your money out, and even if it asks for a PIN again before the next transaction, if they've caught you using your PIN number, it's not going to protect you. So we have to be extra vigilant about that. We have to be careful where the surrounding is. And I think it's worth a quick call. Call your bank on your ATM machine and just, on your ATM card, I'm sorry, and just let them know, hey, I haven't used the tapless feature yet. Walk me through when I'm at a session, what do I need to do? Because the contactless feature is really the future. I can imagine a world not too long from now where people will be, the ATM machines will no longer have a slot that we put our card in. We just tap to use our ATM machine. We tap to access our money. And so you want to know what that looks like before you use it. And on the subject of scams, you know, it's just sad because there's so many scams, and I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years, and unfortunately some of the biggest scams go unreported, and it's because people are ashamed, they're embarrassed that they fell victim to the scam. But I can share with you, there's a video on the FBI's website where a past director of the CIA and same person, past director of the FBI, fell victim to a scam. And if that can happen to somebody that has that type of knowledge, that type of experience, right? Now, this gentleman had gotten older. He'd already retired from both of those posts. He was probably in his late 70s and his 80s. But when you think about it, you know, as we go through our lives working, we build up, hopefully we build up our net worth. But also, at the same time, as we age, we start to lose some of our mental sharpness. And so our loss of mental sharpness is happening at the very time that our net worth is peaking. And that's one of the reasons that older people are targeted for scams. They have larger bank accounts. They have more money that they can be scammed out of. And their guard, their sense of protection, their third sense is not as attuned as maybe it was when they were in their 40s and 50s. So for yourself, for loved ones that might be older, the older we get, the more and more cautious that we need to be. And, you know, a lot of these scams rely on somebody else intervening. They're either calling you on the phone, or in this ATM scam, there just happens to be somebody nearby to offer advice for when the card slot's not working. And that should be our first sense, right? Our phones are devices for our convenience. So we should be making phone calls out when we want to chat with somebody. Our phones are for our friends and our family. So if your phone rings and it's not somebody you know, send it to voicemail. And, you know, if it's somebody that's saying they're from the government or you need to act right away, many of these scams rely on the bad guys creating a sense of urgency. It has to be done right away or something bad's going to happen. And so that should be one of our signs. So that's this video, and I want you to think about watching this video up here. Today's video was really about making good decisions. This video builds off of that. It's the why retiring at 65 might be a big mistake and why you might want to consider retiring before then.